A beautiful young woman manipulated a married millionaire to get his fortune, but what he did at the end of his life made her freeze. Hannah was always a girl who hated any kind of effort. Since she was little, she looked down on people who worked hard. "I'll never live like that, tired and without money," she thought. Her parents, who had a decent life, paid for everything she needed. Clothes, shoes, parties, trips. Everything came easily, but it wasn't the luxury she really wanted. She enjoyed life without worrying about anything. While her friends were looking for part-time jobs or going to college, Hannah spent her days at home, sleeping late and going out at night. She didn't understand why anyone would work so hard when it was possible to live well doing nothing, as long as someone else paid for everything. But that life of luxury at her parents' expense didn't last forever. One day her parents sat her down, worried. The money wasn't flowing like before. The bills were high and they could no longer maintain the lifestyle Hannah was used to. She would need to find a job and help with expenses. Hannah was shocked. "You've got to be kidding. I don't know how to do anything. Why should I have to work?" she complained, crossing her arms, annoyed. Her father tried to be firm but patient. "Sweetheart, everyone needs to work. You're grown up now. We can't support everything for you anymore. It'll be good for you to learn to take care of yourself." She hated the idea. She despised work and thought it was for people who weren't lucky in life. But seeing she had no choice, she started looking for a job even though she didn't want to. Hannah ended up getting a job at a restaurant in the mall. It wasn't glamorous and she hated every second of it. From the first day it was clear she didn't want to be there. Customers would arrive and she would serve them impatiently, speaking in a cold tone, often not even looking at people. When someone asked for something with a smile, she just raised her eyebrows as if she was doing them a favor. "What do you want?" she grumbled from behind the counter while secretly playing on her phone. Her co-workers tried to be friendly with her, but they soon realized it was pointless. Hannah was only there because she had to be, and it was clear she wouldn't last long. While serving tables or taking orders, her mind drifted to a different world. "Why do I have to be here? I wasn't born for this," she thought, looking at the windows of the expensive stores in the mall. She dreamed of walking into those shops and buying whatever she wanted without worrying about the price, living in a luxurious house, traveling to paradise-like places. Just thinking about it made her more irritated. It seemed like every tray she carried was a reminder that life wasn't the way she wanted. When she saw someone walk into the restaurant wearing branded clothes or expensive accessories, she felt a pang of envy. "These people have everything, and I'm stuck here in this horrible place," she said to herself, faking a forced smile as she took another order. On a day like any other, Hannah was at the restaurant trying to hide her boredom while serving customers. Then the door opened and a couple entered who immediately caught her attention. The man was Adam, an older gentleman with grey hair, but very well groomed and elegant, wearing a flawless suit. Beside him was his wife, Ruby, a woman who clearly had lived a life of comfort and luxury. She was wearing jewelry that sparkled from afar and carried a designer bag that, in Hannah's mind, was worth more than she earned in months at that place. The two sat at a table near the window, and Hannah, already imagining things, went over to serve them. While taking their order, her eyes were fixed on Adam, but what really occupied her mind was something else. "This woman is full of jewelry, expensive clothes. I bet her life is a dream. She probably lives in a mansion, travels the world without worrying about anything. And here I am, stuck in this restaurant." Ruby, polite, asked for a juice while Adam was undecided between coffee or wine. Hannah was listening, but her mind was elsewhere. She looked at the couple and imagined what it would be like to take that woman's place. "If I had her life, I wouldn't have to worry about anything. I wouldn't have to work, deal with dirty tables or with people complaining." While Ruby got up to go to the restroom, Hannah saw the perfect opportunity. Her gaze fixed on Adam, and an idea started to grow in her mind. What if I could get him interested in me? He's rich, and he's with a much older woman. It won't be long before she disappears. She thought it was simple, just a matter of time before Adam was alone, and when that happened, maybe she could be the next woman to live the luxurious life she had always wanted. With Ruby in the restroom, Hannah saw the perfect chance to try to impress Adam. She approached the table with a much friendlier smile than usual, trying to seem as pleasant as possible. "Can I get you anything else? Maybe something special? The coffee here is great, but I can suggest something that's not on the menu." "For special customers," she said, with a sweet tone, almost as if she was flirting. Adam lifted his eyes from the menu and looked at Hannah, surprised by her sudden change in attitude. "Well, I was thinking of just having coffee, but if you have a suggestion, I'm listening," he replied with a slight smile, not yet realizing her true intentions. Hannah chuckled softly and continued the conversation, now more confidently. "Someone like you with so much style deserves to be well taken care of. I bet your wife is a very lucky woman." Adam laughed lightly and glanced towards the restroom. "She's a good woman. We've been together for a long time," he commented, not knowing that his words only strengthened the plan forming in Hannah's mind. "Of course," Hannah said, keeping the smile, but already thinking of something else. To her, Ruby was already the past. If she could make Adam interested in her, the rest would be easy. Hannah believed that with Adam's old age, he wouldn't live much longer. And when he was gone, who would inherit everything? She would, of course. She could already imagine the fortune in her hands, the luxurious houses, the trips, everything she had always dreamed of. "If you need anything at all, I'll be nearby," Hannah said, giving him a discreet wink before walking away from the table. As she returned to the counter, she was more certain than ever about what she needed to do. Adam was impressed with how attentive and communicative Hannah seemed. He noticed that she had a way of talking that captivated people, even when it wasn't so genuine. While sipping his coffee, he thought about how she could be useful in his company. When Ruby returned from the restroom, they finished their meal, but Adam couldn't stop thinking about Hannah. It wasn't just her beauty, but the way she seemed to handle conversations and situations, even in a restaurant. He saw something in her that he thought could be useful for business. After paying the bill, Adam called Hannah aside while Ruby walked out ahead. "You have a special way of dealing with people," he said, serious but with a discreet smile. "I like people who know how to talk, who can handle things well. Have you ever thought about working outside this restaurant? Something where you could use these skills better?" Hannah, catching the hint, faked a surprised expression. "Wow, I never thought about it, but what do you have in mind?" Adam was silent for a moment, thinking, then answered, "I have a company in sales. I'm always looking for people who know how to communicate well. I think you could do really well there. How about an opportunity?" Hannah's eyes lit up. It was the perfect chance she had been waiting for. She hid her excitement, staying calm. "I would be very honored, sir. I don't even know what to say. I'm just grateful for the trust." Adam smiled, pleased with her response. "Stop by tomorrow. Here's the address. I'll talk to the sales manager. You'll start right away." Hannah thanked him again and said goodbye, watching Adam leave the restaurant with his wife. Hannah left the restaurant that night with a smile she couldn't hide. She could hardly believe the opportunity that had just fallen into her lap. A job at Adam's company? It was perfect. In her mind, everything was already planned. As soon as she got home, she looked at herself in the mirror and smiled. Now it's just a matter of time, she thought. Adam wasn't young, and she knew that with a bit of charm, she could completely win his trust. If I play my cards right, he'll fall in love with me, and when that happens, his fortune will be mine, she murmured to herself, adjusting her hair. The next day, she went to Adam's company dressed impeccably, wanting to impress from the very first moment. She arrived early with a smile on her face. The sales manager welcomed her and gave her a tour of the company, explaining what she needed to do. It was routine work, convincing clients, closing deals, but Hannah wasn't interested in the job. Her goal was something else. This is just the beginning, she thought, while listening to the manager speak. In the following weeks, she did her job as best as she could, but always with one eye on Adam. Whenever he showed up at the company, Hannah took any chance to start a conversation, always with the same smile, always complimenting his good taste, his success in business. She knew exactly how to make him feel special. Every day, Hannah got closer to him. In her mind, the plan was working. "He's already starting to trust me," she told herself, when Adam praised her work or talked to her about things beyond the professional. She noticed that he was beginning to look at her in a different way, and that was exactly what she wanted. For Hannah, it was only a matter of time before Adam completely fell into her hands. Hannah quickly realized that to stay on Adam's radar, she needed to show some value. Not just to him, but to everyone around her. So she started manipulating people in the company, using her charm and her ability to talk well. She knew exactly what each person wanted to hear, and with a smile here and a compliment there, she made everyone believe she was a dedicated employee. In the sales department, there was a big deal that everyone had been trying to close for months, but no one could convince the client. It was a complicated negotiation, requiring patience and a good deal of persuasion. Seeing an opportunity to stand out, Hannah decided she would be the one to close the deal, and she wouldn't hold back to achieve it. She started getting close to her colleagues, asking about the client, subtly inquiring about the mistakes others had made in previous negotiations. "Oh, I see. Maybe he needs a more personal touch," she would say, pretending to be just curious, when in fact she was gathering information for her own plan. When it was finally her turn to speak with the client, she did the exact opposite of what others had done. Instead of following the company's usual script, Hannah used her charm, was friendly, and spoke in a casual way, almost as if she were talking to an old friend. "I completely understand your concerns," she said with a confident smile, "but I'm sure this deal will be great for you. Trust me." The client, who was already tired of cold and impersonal negotiations, began to relax. And before he realized it, he was leaning towards closing the deal. The next day, the contract was signed, and the news spread throughout the company. "Hannah closed the deal," her colleagues said, surprised. Many couldn't believe that she, the newcomer, had managed to do what no one else could, and Hannah, of course, took advantage of it. "Oh, it was just luck," she said modestly, knowing very well that she had manipulated every step of that negotiation. When Adam heard about her success, he was even more impressed. He called her into his office with a proud smile on his face. "You really have a talent, Hannah. I knew I made the right choice hiring you," he praised, looking directly at her. "Thank you, Mr. Adam," she replied, with that calculated smile she had mastered so well. "I just wanted to do my best for the company." In Hannah's mind, this was just another step on the path that would lead her exactly where she wanted, by Adam's side, controlling not just his company but his fortune. Adam had a tradition in his company. Every month, the employee who stood out was invited to a luxurious dinner. It was a way of recognizing good work, and it always motivated the team. When Hannah closed that big deal, it was no surprise to anyone that she was chosen for the month. "Congratulations, Hannah. You deserve this dinner," said Adam with a smile, handing her the invitation personally. "It'll be at one of the best restaurants in town. I'll be delighted to have your company." Hannah was thrilled inside. This dinner was the perfect opportunity to put her plan into action. "Wow, Mr. Adam, I'm so honored. I can't wait," she replied, with a sparkle in her eye that left it unclear whether it was gratitude or something more. On the night of the dinner, Hannah showed up looking stunning. She wore an elegant, well-fitted dress, knowing that her appearance would be part of the game she was about to play. Adam, upon seeing her, was impressed. He was a married man, but he was starting to feel attracted to this young woman, who, besides being talented, now seemed more charming than ever. During the dinner, the conversation flowed pleasantly. They talked about business, the company, but gradually, Hannah steered the conversation towards something more personal. "You have an amazing life, don't you? It must be wonderful to dine in places like this whenever you want," she said with a soft smile. Adam smiled back. "Yes, I'm very lucky, but over time these luxuries become routine," he replied, not giving much thought to his words. Hannah, sensing that he was open for more, leaned slightly towards him. "I bet having someone by your side who truly understands your worth makes all the difference," she said, looking into his eyes. Adam felt a little uneasy, but he didn't look away. He knew there was more to this conversation. He knew what Hannah was hinting at, but in that moment, he didn't resist. As the atmosphere became more intimate, Hannah decided it was time to make a move. During a brief pause in the conversation, she lightly touched Adam's arm and with a soft voice commented, "You're an incredible man, Adam. Strong, intelligent. Not just anyone can achieve the success you have." Adam, now visibly attracted, began to respond. He no longer thought about his wife, Ruby, or anything else. Hannah's seduction was quick and effective. Before the night was over, he was involved in a way he never imagined. When the dinner ended, Adam, confused and torn, let himself be swept away by the charm and closeness that Hannah had created. They left together, and that night, he betrayed his wife for the first time. For Hannah, it was a victory. She knew she had now achieved what she wanted. Adam was in her hands, and this was just the beginning of what she had planned. Over the following months, Adam became more and more involved with Hannah. He couldn't stop thinking about her. Whenever he was near her, he felt something different, something he hadn't felt in his marriage with Ruby for a long time. Hannah knew exactly what to say, how to please him, and slowly he let himself be completely taken in. Ruby's sparkle in her eyes no longer caught his attention like it once did, and he began to realize that his marriage wasn't the same anymore. Ruby, now elderly, noticed that Adam was becoming more distant, but tried to pretend that nothing was wrong. She always treated him with love and care, but the atmosphere between them was changing, and she didn't know why. Meanwhile, Hannah was becoming more and more present in Adam's life. He invited her to meetings, business dinners, and outside the company, they started spending more time together. Hannah always praised him, made him feel young, strong, and important. She knew exactly how to play the game, and yes, I can continue from where we left off. Adam, without children or heirs, began to think that maybe it was time to start a new life with someone who made him feel alive again. One evening, during a private dinner, Adam looked at Hannah with a serious expression. "I don't know how to say this, but I think I'm ready to change my life," he began, fiddling with his wedding ring. "Ruby and we've been together for a long time, but it's not the same anymore. I feel something for you, Hannah." Hannah, who had been waiting for this moment, smiled softly, pretending to be surprised and emotional. "Adam, I never wanted to cause any problems between you two, but I feel something very strong for you too," she replied, knowing exactly the impact her words would have. Adam sighed, as if he had just made a huge decision. "I think I need to be honest with Ruby. It's not fair to her. I want to separate and start a new life. With you." Those were the words Hannah had been waiting for. She pretended to hesitate for a moment, as if reflecting on the gravity of the situation, but inside she was celebrating. "I just want you to be happy, Adam," she said, holding his hand. "And if that means us being together, I'll be by your side." And so Adam, completely in love with Hannah, decided to separate from Ruby. The process was painful for Ruby, who never imagined that her long marriage would end this way. She cried, trying to understand, but Adam was firm. He wanted a new life with Hannah, and nothing else seemed to matter. Shortly after the divorce, Adam and Hannah were married. She had finally achieved what she had always dreamed of, the luxurious life she desired, with a millionaire husband by her side. Adam, blinded by love, believed he was starting a new chapter filled with happiness, unaware of the true plan Hannah had in mind. Hannah was radiant. Finally, after all her planning, she had succeeded. Marrying Adam had been part of her plan since the moment she met him in the restaurant. Now, as his wife, she was closer than ever to inheriting his entire fortune. From the start, she knew time was on her side. Adam wasn't young, and she believed it wouldn't be long before he passed, leaving everything to her. In her new home, a huge mansion with all the luxuries she had always dreamed of, Hannah walked through the halls as if she already owned everything. Now she wore expensive jewelry, designer clothes, and had everything money could buy at her fingertips. Every time she looked around, she felt immense pleasure. "It's all mine, or will be very soon," she thought, as she ran her hand over the polished wooden furniture. At night, Adam, always attentive, treated her with affection, never suspecting what was going on in her mind. He believed he had found new love and was happy, unaware that Hannah was only interested in his bank account. Alone in her room, Hannah looked in the mirror and spoke to herself. "You did it, Hannah. Now it's just a matter of time. Soon all of this will really be yours." She didn't care about Adam's feelings. To her, he was just a means to an end. When he was no longer there, all the money, the mansion, the cars would be hers. Over time, Adam began to notice that something was different about Hannah. At the start of their marriage, she was all smiles, attentive, always concerned about him. But now, things weren't the same anymore. Hannah seemed more distant, and her patience with Adam was wearing thin. "Are you all right, dear?" Adam asked one evening while they were having dinner together. It was a simple dinner, just the two of them. He hoped for the affection Hannah used to show, but this time she just looked at him with little interest. "I'm fine, just tired," she replied, playing with her food, not wanting to engage in conversation. Adam tried to keep talking, sharing about his day, about the company, but she barely paid attention. She glanced at her phone, fidgeted with her nails, clearly impatient. Adam found her behavior strange. She was no longer the same woman who used to charm him with lively conversations and compliments. Now, everything he did seemed to irritate her. When he invited her out, she made excuses. "I'm busy, I have a lot to do," she'd say, but Adam noticed she spent more time shopping than spending time with him. One night, he tried to have a serious conversation. "Hannah, you've seemed different lately. I feel like you're not as close to me anymore." "Did something happen?" he asked, trying to understand what was wrong. She let out a heavy sigh, as if tired of the conversation. "Nothing happened, Adam. I just have a lot on my mind. I can't give you attention all the time," she replied coldly, getting up from the table before even finishing her dinner. Adam sat there in silence, watching as she left the room without even looking back. This wasn't normal, and he began to put the pieces together. He remembered how everything seemed perfect in the beginning, but now, looking closely, something wasn't right. The attention she showed him before seemed more like a game, and now that they were married, that mask was slipping. Doubt started growing in Adam's mind. Was Hannah with him out of love, or was there something more? He couldn't ignore Hannah's change in behavior. The excuses, the lack of interest, the unexplained outings. Something was very wrong. One day, as he stared blankly in his office, Adam made a decision. He needed to know the truth, so without telling Hannah, he hired a private investigator. The detective began to follow Hannah discreetly, watching her every move. She often left the house, always claiming she had important things to take care of or needed to relax. But instead of handling business or shopping, the detective noticed something else. Hannah was meeting up with a man much younger than Adam. At first it seemed like just a simple friendship, but the photos didn't lie. She was cheating on Adam. The detective documented everything. Meetings at restaurants, intimate moments in secluded places, laughter she no longer shared with Adam. There was no doubt. She had a lover, and the relationship seemed intense. One afternoon, the detective handed all the evidence to Adam. "I'm sorry to tell you this, Mr. Adam," said the detective with a serious expression, "but your wife has been seeing another man. And from the evidence, this isn't something new." Adam opened the envelope with the photos, and when he saw Hannah smiling and embracing the young lover, he felt a tightness in his chest. "So that's it," he murmured, holding one of the photos. He didn't want to believe it was true, but the reality was right there, staring him in the face. He remembered how it all started, how Hannah used to be so affectionate at the beginning, how he had fallen in love with her. Now, everything made sense. She had never been with him out of love. She had been playing a game all along, waiting for the right moment to betray him, and most likely take what was left of his fortune. Devastated, Adam sat there in silence, feeling both anger and sadness. He knew he needed to do something, but he was still processing the betrayal from someone he had believed was his companion. The detective, seeing Adam's pain, stood up slowly. "If you need anything else, I'll be around. I'm really sorry." And with that, he left, leaving Adam alone with the evidence that his life with Hannah had been a lie. Meanwhile, Hannah carried on with her plan as if nothing was wrong. She now lived the luxury she had always dreamed of, but it wasn't enough. She began spending Adam's money excessively, without caring about the consequences. However, these expenses weren't for her or for her life of appearances. The money was being used to keep her young lover happy. Hannah spent hours in designer stores, buying expensive gifts, watches, branded clothes, jewelry, all to keep her lover by her side. She knew the young man enjoyed the lifestyle she could provide, and she did everything to impress him. Every time they met, she would show up with something new, always saying, "This is just the beginning. Once everything goes right, we'll have much more." Adam's credit card paid for everything. He trusted Hannah at first, believing she was simply enjoying the life she now had as his wife. But the spending started getting out of control. purchases that didn't make sense, money flowing to places Adam had never heard of. She even bought a luxury car for her lover, saying it was a gift for him to have fun with. And it didn't stop there. Expensive dinners, secret trips, and even an apartment she had rented just for them to meet. All of it at Adam's expense, who was still trying to figure out what had gone wrong with their marriage. Hannah felt invincible. She believed that Adam, being older and already tired, wouldn't notice what was happening. To her, it was only a matter of time before he got sick or died, and then the entire fortune would be hers. Until then, she continued living her double life, splurging Adam's money to keep her lover interested. One night, sitting in his office, Adam made a decision. He could no longer allow Hannah to continue playing with his life and his money. He needed to act. With tears in his eyes but firm determination, he picked up the phone and called his financial manager. "I want you to freeze all joint accounts immediately," he said, his voice trembling but full of conviction. "Hannah can't touch a single penny of my money anymore." That same night, all of Hannah's accounts were frozen. The credit cards she had been using so freely no longer worked. Unaware of anything, Hannah was getting ready for another luxurious dinner with her lover, already planning to buy something expensive to impress him. After handing her card to the waiter, he returned with a slightly uncomfortable expression. "Madam, your card was declined. Perhaps there's an issue with the bank." Hannah frowned, not believing it. "What do you mean, declined?" She took the card back and, trying to stay calm, handed him another. "Try this one." A few minutes passed, and the waiter returned, now even more embarrassed. "I'm sorry, madam, but this one didn't go through either." Hannah's heart began to race. She felt a chill down her spine. Impossible, she thought. This has never happened before. She tried another card, then another, but the response was always the same. Declined. In disbelief, Hannah tried again, but nothing worked. Her lover, confused by the situation, looked at her suspiciously. "What's going on? Didn't you say you had money for all this?" he asked, uncomfortable with the situation. Now desperate, Hannah felt the ground crumble beneath her. Something was very wrong. She left the restaurant with her lover, trying to figure out what was happening, but the answer came sooner than she expected. The next day, when she arrived at the company, Hannah was met by security guards. They handed her a letter of dismissal signed by Adam. "You're prohibited from entering by direct orders from Mr. Adam," one of the guards said firmly. In disbelief, she tried to speak with Adam, but he had given orders that she was not to come near him or his office. Devastated, Hannah realized her plan was falling apart. Adam had discovered everything, and now she was without access to money and without a job. The world of luxury she had dreamed of was slipping through her fingers, and for the first time, she felt the weight of the consequences of her actions. Adam, though heartbroken, knew he had done what was necessary. Hannah had been removed from his life and from his company. Now, he would begin working on his final plan, to get revenge for everything she had done. One day, while resting, Adam received news that shook him deeply. Ruby had passed away. The official cause was natural due to her age, but some people close to her told Adam that the true cause of her death was heartbreak. "She never got over what you did," an old friend of Ruby's said when visiting him. "She was very sad. She couldn't understand how you could leave her after so many years together." Those words weighed heavily on Adam's shoulders. He knew he had made a mistake by letting himself be deceived by Hannah, by trading a stable and respectful life for an illusion. Now, with Ruby already buried, he felt a pain he couldn't describe. "She's gone because of me," he thought bitterly. The guilt consumed him, and he knew there was no way to undo the damage. Ruby was gone forever. However, the sadness soon turned into something darker. Adam looked back at everything that had happened since Hannah had entered his life. The lies, the betrayal, the way she used and manipulated his feelings. He realized that, in a way, all the wrong choices he had made began with her. And now, sick and weak, Adam decided he wouldn't let Hannah get away with it. Even knowing his days were numbered, he had the strength for one final act. "She can't get anything," he murmured, alone in his room. "I need to get revenge for everything she did to me, and to Ruby." His mind was clear about what needed to be done. Using the little energy he had left, Adam began planning every detail. He reviewed his will, discussed it with his lawyers, and prepared a twist that would leave Hannah with nothing. He had already frozen her accounts and barred her from the company, but that wasn't enough. He wanted her to feel the weight of her choices. He wanted her to pay for what she had done to him and Ruby. From his deathbed, Adam made sure that all his assets would be directed to a cause that wouldn't benefit Hannah in any way. And he prepared one final surprise, something he knew Hannah would never expect, something that would make her realize the mistake she made by underestimating him. She won't get a penny, he thought. Shortly after finalizing his revenge plan, Adam passed away. His death wasn't a surprise, as he had been very ill, but the impact it left was enormous. The news spread quickly, and everyone began to wonder what would happen to his fortune. Adam was a very wealthy man, and everyone assumed that, without any heirs, everything would go to Hannah. Hannah, on the other hand, despite being fired and having lost access to the money in Adam's final days, still believed she would be the main beneficiary. Now that he's gone, I'll finally get what's mine, she thought, already imagining herself regaining the luxury she had lost. She believed the will would put everything back into her hands. The day of the will reading arrived, and the room was filled with important people, lawyers, company members, and of course, Hannah, sitting with a look of false sadness, pretending to mourn her husband's loss. All she could think about was the money that would soon be hers. As the lawyer began reading the will, the room fell silent. Everyone was curious to know what Adam had left behind. The first words were formal, about his assets and shares. But suddenly, the tone changed. Adam had done something no one expected. All company assets will be divided among the shareholders, the lawyer read, causing many in the room to exchange surprised glances. The company, his biggest asset, was completely split among the shareholders. Each would receive their share, and the management would be handed over to a new board with no connection to Hannah. This alone was a shock, as everyone had expected Hannah to inherit most of the company. But what came next was even more surprising. My personal fortune, all of my money, millions of dollars, will be donated entirely to a charity that supports the education of underprivileged children in Africa, the lawyer continued. Adam always wanted to do something good with his wealth, the lawyer explained. He believed that investing in the education of disadvantaged children was the best way to leave a positive legacy. Hannah could hardly believe what she was hearing. While she had dreamed of money to buy mansions, cars, and travel the world, Adam had decided to use it to help children she didn't even know. Shock and frustration washed over her. How could he do this? Her expression changed instantly. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. What had seemed certain was now turning to dust in front of her. The room was in shock, but the lawyer continued reading without stopping. And to my wife Hannah I leave only a key, the key to a safe deposit box located at the bank. Hannah was stunned. A key, just that? She thought, barely able to hide her frustration and anger. She had expected millions, mansions, cars, but all she had received was a key whose meaning she didn't even understand. She couldn't grasp how Adam could have done this to her. Even with the entire company and Adam's fortune going to others, she believed that the key might lead to something valuable. There must be money or jewels hidden there, she thought, trying to convince herself that Adam wouldn't leave her with nothing. The next day she went to the bank. The doors of the vault opened, and the safe deposit box was there, waiting to be revealed. Hannah took a deep breath, and with trembling hands, she used the key to unlock the box. For a few seconds, she felt a surge of hope. Perhaps inside was her salvation, something she could use to recover the lifestyle she so desired. But when she opened the box, she found something unexpected. It was completely empty except for a small folded piece of paper. It was a note left by Adam. Confused and angry, Hannah took the note and opened it, only to read the words that would leave her even more devastated. Adam's message was simple but full of meaning. I always knew your intentions. You never loved me, only what you thought you could get. And now, all you have left is this. I hope life makes you pay for your actions. The note was a final taunt, a last humiliation. Adam, knowing all along about Hannah's plan, had prepared everything to ensure she wouldn't get anything. He wanted her to understand that her greed and betrayal had cost her everything. Reading those words, Hannah felt despair and fury. All the effort she had made, the entire plan to deceive Adam and claim his fortune, ended there, with a simple note in her hands. She left the bank, broken, knowing that in the end, the one who had truly won was Adam. He had seen through her from the beginning, and with one final move, he showed that she had never been in control. Now, without money, without power, and without respect, Hannah found herself completely alone. Everything she had built on lies and manipulation had crumbled, and the note was a final reminder that her ambition had led her nowhere except to total humiliation. The news that Adam had left his fortune to a charity and not to Hannah spread quickly. People who once admired her for being the millionaire's wife now looked at her with disdain. She was only with him for the money, some said. Adam knew everything all along, others commented. The image Hannah had built for the world of a sophisticated and powerful woman crumbled in an instant. Her former friends, who had been by her side only because of Adam's wealth, abandoned her. The doors to the luxurious places she used to visit were now closed to her. Invitations to exclusive events and parties disappeared. No one wanted to be associated with her anymore. Without Adam's fortune and unable to spend as she once did, Hannah soon realized that people had only treated her well because of the money she no longer had. Desperate, she tried to rebuild her life in various ways. She tried reconnecting with old contacts, even attempted to find other wealthy men to rebuild her life, but no one trusted her anymore. Hannah's reputation was ruined. Everyone knew who she really was and what her true intentions had been. Over time, she began living a simple life, far from the luxurious one she had always dreamed of. The designer clothes, the jewelry, the expensive cars, all of that had disappeared. Now Hannah was just another ordinary person, without glamour, without fortune, and worst of all, without anyone by her side. What she had desired so much, a life of wealth and power, never came to be. Adam had been smarter than her, and his final move left her with nothing. Humiliated and with nowhere to go, Hannah spent her days reflecting on her mistakes, knowing that her greed and ambition had led her to lose everything. In the end, Hannah never achieved the luxurious life she had so desperately sought. Everything she had turned to dust, and all that remained was the echo of her own errors as the world moved on, forgetting about her. Please leave your comment with your thoughts on the story or what you learned. You might change someone's life with your words. Share it with that friend or family member who you think could learn an important lesson from it. At the end, I'll also leave a few more stories that I'm sure will change the way you see the world.